in our introduction, but quickly before we get into the matters arising, the Ahanta Pele is by the wall and will bring us updates on the newspapers. Did you have a good weekend?
I did, yes. Especially so when one MP in Parliament called me Ahanta Pele on Top Story. I said, how did you do? I said, I watch you every morning.
Should you resign now?
No.
All right, what's happening in front of
Anyway, let's start with the Daily Gist. On the front page, MPP boys fight NDC over cocoa board mess. And it has pictures of Dennis Miracle Abuaji, who's the communications director of Dr. Baumia, Fifi Boafo is former head of communications for Cocoa Board, and so this is Kwesi Edu. I'm told is the son of the former CEO of Cocoa Board, and he's a commodities trader. They've been talking about what's happening at Cocoa Board. Get details of that on page 3. OSP exposed in Ofori-Atta Interpol arrest warrant. We are being told that Interpol, after assessing it, feels that this is more of a politically inundated, and therefore they are going to remove the red alert there. We'll be speaking to one of the lawyers, so we'll get more about that. Former MMDCs to state demo at Finance Ministry. Police break kidnapping ring at the Traco estate, and Baumia preaches unity in MPP ahead of 2028 polls. And one thing he said was that there are a lot of things they may have said against each other, but it's time to bury it and then unite for the 2028 polls. He says the win won't be given. They have to fight for it, and therefore everybody has to come around the table, fight and win this for the NPP. Publisher Baumia urges forgiveness ahead of 2028, so everybody should forgive each other, come together and unite so that the party can win 2028. That's what the former vice president is saying. Cocoa farmers blast Mahama over price cut, and I'm sure you saw that video that we're playing there. Some of them very, very unhappy with the decision to cut prices. They said that is unprecedented. It has never happened before. Police arrest cybercrime suspect at Traco. APN pushes visa-free Africa agenda at AU summit. Let's see how that one also goes. Graphic business. Cocoa sector reforms. Government links farm gate prices to global rates, because they say the global rates have dropped, and that's why Ghana had to also reduce it, but farmers are taking none of that. But the government is explaining why this has to be done. Daily Graphic, no more foreign funds for cocoa. No mineral will be exported without processing, President Mahama says. So he says that now they won't borrow to buy cocoa. We're going to use local funds, because in his words, we have so much cities in Ghana to be able to buy cocoa, and the fact that they are going to allow a lot of local processing of the beans. The details are on page 3 of the Daily Graphic. Industry rallies buying 50% cocoa processing directive, and I'm told here they want to now convert some of the 1D1F factories to go into processing of this cocoa. So let's see how that will go, but get details on page 13 of that. And stop sharing explicit viral videos. Gender Minister is appealing to Ghanaians to stop spreading those videos in which a Russian came to Ghana, and a lot of things in there. She says that we need to give the ladies a chance to rise again, and so we don't have to keep spreading those videos. The custodian, cocoa farmers in tears over NDC's massive betrayal. They say, if you can't give us what you promised, please revert to what the Akufo-Addo left, 3,100 per bag. If you read the story, you get details in there. The story is on page 3. APN pushes for visa-free Africa at AU summit. MPP holds Thanksgiving service after presidential primary, and it comes with a picture of a lot of big wigs in the NPP. You see a lot of videos also making rounds on social media. They get details on page 11. Lily Mohammed is best TV female newscaster. Okay, that's on page 5 of the paper there. Daily Guide, Interpol delete of Ofori-Atta red notice. We've told you that one. Let's put personal grudges behind. Baumia is urging all the contestants. He says there's no need for factions now. There's only one MPP, and so mistrust must go, factionalism must go. They should work behind one MPP to help deliver the victory. So it's time for the party to work at constituency, households to households, to ensure that the victory they want in 2028 is delivered. 3 dead in Nsawam Accra Highway for tanker explosion. Over the weekend, we understand that a gas tanker collided with a vehicle and then it led to the explosion. 3 charred bodies have been identified in that particular explosion. Terrorist attack Ghanaian tomato traders in Burkina Faso. Major Online, no more excuses. NCA rules are stricter mobile service standards. Interior Ministry confirms attack on Ghanaian traders in Burkina Faso. And call drops must fall below 1%. NCA raises bar for telcos. So those are the stories. You can go on to my majoronline.com for more. Emeva, back to you.
Thank you so much, Kojo. So much to do on News Review this morning. We're joined by Lom Nuku Ahlija. He is lawyer, lecturer, and an energy consultant. Vicky Bright will join us a bit later. She is corporate lawyer and an entrepreneur. Wanda Madilo is development analyst and a member of the NDC communications team. And Kofi Tonto, political aide to Dr. Baumia. Right, we have so much to talk about. Definitely that Interpol red notice that has come to the fore today. And as well, that worrying situation about this Russian man who allegedly distributed footages of engagements he had with some Ghanaian women. The Gender Ministry, beyond what the Ministry of Communication has been saying as well, has issued caution that we treat these young women with some dignity. And as well, we shall have some time to discuss the decision to implement that law that was passed some time ago on us going into commercial, shall I say, the usual term, weed, into how we're going to be making some money. So the weed economy, we'll get to know whether that's the best way for us as a country, but how the substance and form in which that implementation will take. But of course, let's start with the matter of Ofori-Atta and the red Interpol notice. This morning, we're joined by Frank Davies on phone before I come to my panelists. He is a member of his legal team and has been joining us ever since this matter started. Let's just get some updates. Frank, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to your very listeners and esteemed viewers. Good morning.
Right. Let's start with, I'm sorry if that's broke your ear. Let's start with the matter on how the Interpol's Commission for Control for Files directive to delete the red notice. How did that come to you? How did that news come to you?
We received communication from the CCF, as you just said, the Commission for the Control of Interpol Files. You'll recall that when this matter broke, we had always insisted that the OSP did not do what was right with the law. And we were very, very confident that what he was doing was not going to yield any useful results. So on the 4th of February, the Commission for the Control of Interpol Files made a determination. Early on, his name had been redacted and pulled down from the red notice list. What that meant was that they were about to do a thorough examination of what the Office of the OSP had requested and come out with their final decision. Indeed, on the 4th of February, which was their 135th session, they found, without any equivocation, that the request for the red notice alert at the instance of the Office of the Special Prosecutor on Kenneth Atta was not compliant with Interpol's rules, regulations, and constitution, and as such, his name was deleted from the Interpol file. Specifically, the CCF made this point and statement that after a thorough examination of the elements before it, they found that the challenge data registered by the Interpol National Central Bureau of Ghana was found to be non-compliant with Interpol's rules, and as such, Ofori-Atta's name should be deleted from the Interpol information system. As simple as that. We are reassured that all along we have been speaking exactly what the Interpol has determined.
Okay.
The press release, I have cited the press release by the office of the special prosecutor. And at the tail end, among many other things that he said, which bore no relevance at all to the determination made by the CCF, they now say that they will be guided by law and evidence, and also they will be committed to due process and a fair, lawful, and impartial prosecution of corruption and corruption-related cases. I only hope.
What does this decision by the CCF mean to your client? What does it mean in its entirety?
That his name has been taken off the red notice alert. That is all that it means. And I'm saying that from what the OSP has said, that they will be committed to due process, fairness, lawfulness, and an impartial prosecution of corruption and corruption-related cases. My candid advice to them is that rule of law and due process is not a term of art. It evolves from established practices and processes. So yes, they got it wrong this time. The group, I think they should be apologetic as they have done and tell Ghanaians the truth in the matter. It is not always right to condemn accused persons of interest and suspects in the court of public opinion and try to tarnish their reputation when there is no basis for it. So yes, Ofori-Atta's name has been deleted completely in the red notice.
Let's go to the decision that we've been expecting on the 12th of February. What's the status of that decision?
What is the status of that decision?
Yes.
That's what I just told you.
No, on the 12th of February. I recall.
It means, yes, the 4th of February decision means that Ofori-Atta's name has been deleted completely from the Interpol files, and also that he has also been deleted from the Interpol information system. So he's no longer on a red notice alert.
I would have thought the 12th February date was in relation to the ice matter that happened some weeks ago. I recall that when I had a conversation on the news.
The ice matter would be determined again on the 19th of February.
19th of February, okay.
19th of February, which is just today is 16th, so it's Thursday. So the determination, the ice hearing is on Thursday. So don't let us make any confusion. Let me set it right. The extradition process and the Interpol red alert are three different matters.
Okay.
Don't let us put them together.
I totally understand. Thank you so much. We shall come to you. Definitely, 19th is just around the corner. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
Okay, back in studio, we've got Lom, we've got Wanda. Vicky has just joined us, and Kofi Tonto as well in studio. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Okay, so we'll stay on this one because just over the weekend, we've seen the publication by the OSP. We have also spoken to one of his lawyers, Ofori-Atta especially, on the table this morning. And I'm not too sure how. If I understand what Frank Davies is saying, it is as though there was some sort of omission by the OSP. Let's speak to the lawyers first and bring some clarity, some understanding. Vicky, just settle in, but Lom, let's get some clarity. What does this really mean to the ongoing case?
Okay, thank you, MFA. I think before I start, if you permit me a few minutes to highlight matters related to what you've heard coming out of Burkina Faso. I think it's quite unfortunate that apparently some, Ghanaian tomato traders have been under some attack in Burkina Faso. I've seen a release by the Minister for Interior saying they are coordinating with Burkinabe authorities, which we are hoping that today and throughout the week we'll have more details, because that's quite unfortunate. It just highlights some of the challenges with security within the sub-region and also activities of, armed gangs and so on, which is happening not only in Burkina Faso but other countries. And so I think as a country we should have those traders in our thoughts and in our prayers as we wait for more details from the government. But specifically on this issue of the red notice and what lawyer for Ofori-Atta has said, I think that we need to situate the conversation properly, because the red notice is a request that is made by security authorities and bodies for Interpol to essentially put a notice out to all its member states or countries to know that this person is wanted in a particular jurisdiction. Now, as we've seen from the release or for the information that is out there, they have a commission that reviews requests for such red notices to be posted. So even though the notice has been posted, they can continue to review it based on challenges that are brought by persons whose images are put out there and so on and so forth. So when, in this case, we've heard that the red notice has been taken down because it did not comply with Interpol rules, what it simply means is that Interpol has reviewed it in the light of its own standards, and it's saying that it doesn't comply. And I've seen from the OSP's release that the principal reason that it indicates is that Interpol says that the requests have some political, if I should say, coloration or motivation. In other words, when Interpol did the review, they feel that there's overly comments or commentary of a political nature, which perhaps in their view is not compliant with their rules as far as posting of the red notice is concerned. So they have taken it down. But that aside, we also know that the notice is to ensure that the person is arrested. Now, one of the other things that has also come up is that at all material times when even the red notice request was made, the OSP and, of course, all security agencies in Ghana knew exactly where Ken Ofori-Atta was located. He was in the United States at that point. So, in fact, the request to the whole world, if I should put it, through Interpol, would have probably only covered if he moved out to the U.S. But so long as he was in the U.S. and that was already known,
it was coming anyway.
Yes, and also what it also, yes, it was coming anyway. And also what it means is that the need for that global notice may have been undermined because he already was known to be in the United States. It's only that perhaps they hadn't triggered other processes for his arrest. Currently, as we speak, Ken Ofori-Atta is in detention. And so even if this was not taken down, its purpose would not be
it won't be
yes,
it
won't be useful because his location is known. And that is
Vicky, before I go to the clear politicians, so you had the lawyer say that it is as though the OSP didn't do its work quite well. Is that the impression you're getting from the statements that the OSP has released?
Well, I mean, there could be an argument for that, in the sense that, I was looking at this thing, and I think for me, the real question is not even whether the notice was deleted, but what you're saying, whether our anti-corruption institutions, in this case, the OSP, are really building cases that are strong enough to survive global scrutiny. So for me, it's really bigger than just the Ken matter. It goes to the root of our fight against all these things, real or perceived. So it's a stress test of Ghana's anti-corruption architecture, and particularly the credibility of the OSP once again in navigating international legal systems like Interpol. Because when, as a country, you escalate a domestic prosecution into the international space, the standards change. We have our standards, they have our standards. If you choose to escalate your domestic situation internationally, which increasingly we have to do because crime, doesn't sit in one spot, then it's, you know, it's a higher bar or a different bar. And so it's no longer enough for you to satisfy your own domestic, whatever standards are. You must satisfy treaty obligations because you have, you know, it's bilateral relationships. And you have to meet the requisite evidential thresholds and procedural neutrality requirements across the jurisdiction that you're dealing with. I mean, we've been told that the primary reason is because they felt that it had some political coloring. And we know from Interpol's constitution that they stay out of it. They are not there to judge innocence or guilt. They are just there to enforce the rules, to locate the person and do a provisional arrest if you meet very stringent criteria. So one lesson we should learn from this is that international compliance standards are unforgiving.
Right. Yeah.
They're unforgiving, and we have to make sure that we don't, when we do these things, we do them properly. We do them in a way that upholds Ghana's standards, you know, as a serious country. The rules are clear. All we have to do is to comply with them and make the application in a way which satisfies the standards over there. And it took so long to do all these things. So I'm actually at a loss why Interpol will come back and say, well, look, there were some procedural issues, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, let it be because of substance and not because of these
Procedure,
things.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'd go to wonder, let me come to you, but when I come back to you, both lawyers, the clarity I need is, what do we say to people who say that it's because the Attorney General had taken over the extradition process? I mean, as we know, it's quite the sole duty of the AG, but people say that because he had taken over, this is why it looks like it's been politically tinted. And could we really have had this ongoing without two sides having a conversation around it? What then do we do to insulate ourselves in subsequent matters? But Wanda, what's your take? Maybe my question to you is that if I look at the OSP's statement, it suggests to me that he knew what Lom also had said, that because we now know the whereabouts of Mr. Ofori-Atta, the red notice was quite not necessary anymore. Did it have to wait for the CCF to then direct it before it would do that?
Before I make any commentary, I want to say that this morning, you guys have not been fair to me.
We have not?
Yeah.
Why?
To bring me on the show with my lecturer. School are not finished yet. I think that was intimidating enough. But that said, on Ofori-Atta's issue, I think the Interpol's release came rather too late. For me, it's of no consequence to the current issues before the court. Why the basic understanding why an Interpol red notice is issued is to locate and arrest. Period. Locate where the person is and arrest. At the current instance, we know where Ken is. He's already even been arrested. Call it, you know, at a detention center or whatever sort. And so it's coming in rather too late. If in the US we didn't have this situation where he's already under some monitoring already or at a detention center, then this would have served a very good purpose for all of us and to say that the OSP did not do a good job. But for me, I think it doesn't affect the case in any way. Interpol was not a court to try anybody. It was only to locate and, you know, move you back to your jurisdiction to retry it. And therefore, if all that is out of the way now and the man is already in custody, as it were, what's the fuss about it? I don't even see.
Can we spare
why
could we stretch us by sparing the OSP, because of course what ICE was doing is very different from what the OSP was pursuing.
Whatever it is, what the basic reason for which the OSP was doing what they were doing was to bring him to the jurisdiction. Is that not it? So if by some stroke of good luck or whatever, call it whatever, the man has been arrested and he's undergoing some trials and the case has been brought before the judge and the judge is asking for some other details to proceed, I don't think that we should be too excited about the OSP has failed, and I'm worried for the people who say the OSP has failed. These are people who appointed this OSP and told us all manner of nice things, and that he was better than Amidu, right? And that he was good, he was a lawyer per excellence. We agree, yes. You can be a good lawyer in one case, and in the following case, they say you are a bad lawyer. So this business about trying to stain the OSP is what worries me. And we're not going to allow that to happen because, you see, our institutions will definitely go through some of these challenges.
Okay.
I mean, where you go to case. I mean, the renowned lawyers you see around this case.
So it's a challenge, but we should pardon it.
Yeah, we don't have to waste our time too much on this issue.
Yeah, I don't think it's I don't think it's so much a failure of the whole institution of the OSP failing. But I think that where there are issues, we have to highlight them so we can improve.
Okay.
And also, you know, I don't see anything wrong with the first step that they took, because at the time, they weren't even sure that he was in the U.S.
But he told them he was headed to the US.
He told them he was in the U.S., but they were not actually 100% sure. And also, they didn't know that his visa had expired, and all those things that were revealed later were not known at the time. So I think it was in order that they did that. But once ICE detained him, he had been located. So at that point, they should have withdrawn it or abandoned the process.
Okay.
That's what I
think. So yeah, my point well made, and therefore I think we're wasting too much time. I mean, sorry to say that on this business about OSP having failed, it didn't comply to due notice and all that. I think it's neither here nor there. What is critical for us as Ghanaians is that our anti-corruption institutions should be up and doing. In fact, we actually need their support, or they need our support more than ever. If we have lawyers in this country who think they can help the OSP to prosecute their case, why stand aloof? Why stand away? And then when he fails to come on air to celebrate his failure, why don't you join? Why don't you offer your widow's mite as a citizen in helping him to, you know, unravel some of these issues? Unfortunately, we have politicized this whole process. And this whole thing about politics coming into it is because we ourselves as Ghanaians did this. Because people were even demonstrating in the US and all that. Yeah. In fact, we made that to look political.
Yes.
How did crime of corruption become a political issue?
I was worried about that. When I saw all that, I knew that it was going to
affect. In terms of commentaries around his job or the
commentaries, there was a demonstration in the US asking that he should be released and sent to Ghana and all that.
And
the embassy, the
embassy here even.
Okay. You know, so I think that's where maybe we blurred the lines between what crime is and what political, you know, intimidation or what's the other word? Intimidation or persecution, they call it, is. Okay. So I don't think that.
Let me hear, Kofi. When I go around the table again, I already gave a question to Lom. And the back of this is that many say that the OSP is not very independent. And so when we invite the Attorney General, this by default an extension of political coloration anyway. That's what we've just talked about. But let me hear Kofi first.
Yeah, a very good morning to you and to my colleague panelist. But my question really is rhetorical. My first question is, was there really ever a time where we didn't know where Ken Ofori-Atta was? Ken Ofori-Atta wrote a letter to the Chief of Staff that he was traveling to the United States to seek medical help. We all knew where Ken Ofori-Atta was, to the extent that we even found out which hospital he was in. So we're from this argument that they weren't sure where he was and, you know, they were trying to be sure. Even at the time that the OSP was engaging his lawyers, they told him. They told him, his family wrote a letter that our son is in the US, he's in the hospital, he's going through all these processes. Everything was clear. There was never a time where we didn't know where Ken Ofori-Atta was. What are we saying? Even when he went to London and came back to the US, he made it public.
He went to London and came back?
Yeah, at the time.
Was that public?
No.
Yeah, the family wrote. The family wrote. What is being...
I mean, I didn't report it as a
Yeah, it was not...
journalist.
I'm saying that the family wrote a letter. Don't you recall the several times the family wrote letters?
No, but
There was a gap.
Please, can I speak? All of you have had the chance to speak. The point I am making to you is it was not ever in doubt where Ken Ofori-Atta was. Nobody can tell me that they ever doubted where Ken Ofori-Atta was. Why are we creating the impression that we didn't know? The guy didn't feel well. He went to the US. He wrote to the chief of staff. The question was, please return on the date you promised you are going to return. And then he came back and said, I am not done with the procedure. And then the OSP said, look, I'm giving you an extension to this date. Come back. Was that not the case? Have we forgotten the engagement between the OSP and his lawyers as to when he should come back versus when he said he was going to come back?
Then what? Then
he, of course. And then the argument became, do we proceed to try him, what's the term for it? In absentia.
Yeah.
So let's try and recollect what transpired. Let's try and recollect what transpired. So the question of where he was never in doubt. Even a child knew Ken Ofori-Atta was in the USA, even to the extent that they mentioned the hospital he was in Rochester, New York. So when from this we weren't so sure, and so for me that was the first blunder. There was no need to go the route the OSP went. Then number two, the issue about politicization. My brother, the politicization of corruption-related cases, especially in this time, started with oral. We were here when a president-elect without any powers constituted a body to begin, quote-unquote, the processes of prosecuting people or investigating people or whatever. That is where the whole politicization started. To the extent that they put out an amount of how much they are going to retrieve from people. How many times did people warn the Attorney General? You read the statement, or I'm sure you are going to read the statement from the OSP. He references utterances by the Ministry of Justice in the OSP's own statement. So politicization started with the party in power. They made utterances to the extent that people warned the Attorney General, please stop the media trial.
But you have just referenced really the Ministry of Justice, but the statement as well references both. It says former and current government.
That's okay. But we as a former government or appointees of former government, we had a right to respond if people are making commentaries. Don't we have a right to respond? Once oral is out there making accusations, of course we'll come back and respond. So certainly we will also make commentary, and it further entrenches the whole political aspect of the debate. But if the government had just allowed the processes to go through without the politicization, look, we had a point where the Attorney General even stated publicly that there was too much political pressure on him. So let's not make this complicated. The issues are twofold. One, the OSP, needless show of bravado. I am going to punish you. I am going to put your name on the red list as whatever I will do to put your name on it, I will put your name on it. Just to tarnish your image, just to punish you. But you see the comment about, oh, you know, it's just procedural, he's been detained, so putting out the statement that he's been removed and all of that it doesn't really change much. It changes something. Because you see, when you put someone's name on the red list, it's a question of credibility as well. It's a question of credibility as well. So Interpol will come out and say, per our decision, this person does not deserve to be on the red list. It's a way of also restoring the credibility of that individual. So let's not say it does. It means something. That is why there's a whole commission to go through the processes. If the person doesn't have to be there, that is why there are rules, stringent rules that must be met. So if the person is not deserving of being on the list, they will do the right thing by removing the person. So at least the person regains their credibility back. So look, if we want to really fight corruption in this country, we need to stop the needless politicization of it.
Okay.
We are here expecting Wanda and his political party to retrieve $21 billion. That is our expectation of Ora, to retrieve $21 billion. And you have no excuses.
Okay. Well, Wanda, when I come to you, can address
no,
that.
It's just a rhetorical
Imagine that Karen Davies says that some of the things they also said were rhetorical.
No. I'm saying that to him, I'm not expecting him to respond to me.
Let's just but I hope not. I hope.
No, I have to respond.
Respond to what?
Okay, Kofi.
I have to respond.
I think you have brought again to the table some of the questions I also want answers for, right? That could we have gone through this process genuinely with the Attorney General, who is, if I understand, the sole person who is in charge of extradition in this country, without it being politically colored?
Absolutely, because every extradition goes through that process. When, for example, recent arrests related to cyber crime and so on, the repatriation of Kofi Boateng and all those different people, even the recent one that has come in relation to Abu Trik and so on. Extraditions are going on all the time. It happens. There's nothing strange about it. And the reason why the Attorney General is part of that process is because by the Extradition Act, it is the Attorney General that is a designated minister. Almost every statute stipulates who the designated minister is, which minister is responsible for that particular statute. And so in Ghana, there's no way you can do an extradition if you don't go to the Attorney General. And like I said, we've been doing this for decades, actually. So there's nothing strange. In fact, the OSP itself issued a statement, and of course, they've also explained this variously to the media, that they had to write through the Chief of Staff so that the Attorney General would take over the process, because the OSP by itself cannot do extradition. It cannot. In fact, extradition, even though it's a legal matter, is also a political and diplomatic matter, which means that on the U.S. side, in this specific case, if the request is not coming from a minister of state from Ghana, it will not even be recognized. So assuming OSP decided to even send the request for extradition to the U.S., it will not be complied with, because by law and by international conventions, it is only a minister of state designated to be in charge of extradition who can do so. So OSP requested the Attorney General to do so. And that is the proper thing to do. So it doesn't make it political. If I understand, you see, I haven't seen the actual commission determination. I've seen the OSP statement, and they've quoted portions of it. So from what I've seen from the OSP statement, they are saying that one of the things that the commission looks at for, according to its rules, is whether there's politicization around the particular request for the red notice. And according to their determination, there is. So if I cast my mind back and I look at what has happened since that was done, because this red notice request went in June 2025, last year. It's more about the commentary in the public space and he said, she said, that kind of thing.
Is this the first time our Attorney General is going through the process of extraditing a political figure?
No.
Because I hear you say that we've been doing it for a while.
Yes.
But I cannot see how the OSP starting off this way and the Attorney General joining it wouldn't invite the political coloration. This is my concern.
The political coloration cannot come from that, because that is the only way it can be done.
Okay.
Yes, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it is Sedinam or it is Ofori-Atta. Only the Attorney General can request it. In fact, it's interesting to know that on the U.S. side, of course, there's a legal part of it where a court has to make a determination whether indeed the request is proper, whether there's the offense for which the person is required in the other jurisdiction is an extraditable offense, all of those things. But ultimately, the decision is made by the Secretary of State of the United States in their equivalent, because there is a political decision. In fact, even if a U.S. court determines that the offense is extraditable and they decide that they have cleared the legal hurdle, the Secretary of State can still choose not to extradite.
Okay.
Yes, that's why I'm sure you've even heard recent arguments by some people on our side, at least in Ghana, lawyers and other policy analysts saying that the way we are quick to extradite, they see that it's not the same from the US and other countries. So we too, we should really, because we also can choose not to extradite somebody, even if the request for extradition comes from another country. So it is not only a legal matter, it's political, and it's also very diplomatic as well.
What do you say to Kofi's concern that Ken Ofori-Atta has always told us where he is? Why did the OSP have to issue the red notice?
So I think there's at least one key reason that will come to mind, and I think Kofi also alluded to the fact that at some point we did get the information that Ken Ofori-Atta actually left the US to the UK. What if we didn't get that information? What if he went to a non-extraditable country, for example? Which means that it is always possible that even though he was known to be in the US at the time when the OSP was requesting his presence, they were doing a back and forth with the lawyers, he could at any point move to another country. There's no reason why he should remain in the US. It's not only in the US that he could get, for example, the medical care that he was getting. And so the red notice, as I said, is a request that essentially Interpol, when they put on their website, notifies all countries that are members of it that this person is wanted in Ghana.
So assuming he also doesn't have the power to extradite. So when he issues the red notice, the Attorney General will then have to be part of the process.
Not so, because the Interpol actually does not arrest anybody. Interpol itself, what they are doing is essentially to notify other countries and their security agencies to do the arrest when that person enters their jurisdiction. But Attorney General triggering the extradition process is not about Interpol. That's a direct bilateral thing. They are sending the request specific to a country where they know the person is. So in this case, we know that Ken Ofori-Atta is in the US. So the request for extradition is going from the government of Ghana through the Attorney General to the US. The US.
Okay.
But another thing. You see, all this while, did we know that while Ken wrote to the OSP asking for time, he was busy looking for visa extensions? Did you know all that? No, we didn't know all that until...
make that public?
Yeah, but the question is, you had written to the OSP. First of all, when you were traveling, you wrote that you were traveling. You were coming at a certain date. You didn't show up. The OSP wrote to you. You wrote back that you can't come at a certain date, so give me time. The OSP gave you time. When that time was up, no word, nothing.
Are you sure there was no word?
There was no word. That's what the OSP said.
There were legal correspondence.
Then that's where the correspondence started, and then he said he could do via Zoom or whatever. So for a criminal proceedings, nobody will allow you in any jurisdiction to do Zoom or whatever call, and nobody could represent you even when the law enforcement agencies call for you. You have to be there yourself. It's not a civil matter for you to decide that, okay, I'm sending my lawyer, I speak to my lawyer and everything is fine. They needed his presence. So all this business about politicization did not start with the OSP, neither the Attorney General. It started with Ken himself. When you start writing, he wrote a first article where he categorically said that he has been persecuted or has been persecuted by political elements and all that and all that. That's where the whole thing started. And they took it as a crusade. In fact, the MPP went on their own and made commentaries that politicized this whole thing. We do know that for a politician who has been involved in some alleged corruption practices, it would definitely be politicized. But to what extent? And at what point?
But the OSP cites the Ministry of Justice as well. That's commentaries from that as well. So can account. Also,
yeah, but the Attorney General was responding to comments in the public domain.
But wouldn't he respond knowing that he can be cited for politicizing the matter?
No, where politicizing means what? The man is playing his role.
But I'm guaranteed because it showed up in the statement.
Yeah, I'm saying that he's playing his role. First of all, you must understand that Interpol may not know the intricacies within our political domain. Any case that is a political matter going to Interpol will definitely be politicized. The person in question is a political figure. And therefore, this business about, we have politicized, that's why, it doesn't destroy the case. The case is that the man has been named in some corruption, alleged corruption practices. The state wants him in Ghana to be tried. whatever it is, how would you take politics out of that? Because he was there on behalf of a political party as it were appointed. And so, this business about somebody has politicized.
My sister, here's the point. Here's the point.
Then finally, on the business about on his business about we recouping 21 billion and whatever.
All right, when we
it is this but it's this conduct. It is this conduct, this thinking that everything that the AG or the OSP goes after is political. It's the reason why some of these things are happening. Okay. When you you take politics out of the process, we can make good progress.
It's a good place to learn.
You see,
Kofi, you want to?
You see, my sister.
Are you also responding?
You see, there are we have evidence and history in this country. We were in this country when a supposed national security operative went to the house of Ken Ofori-Atta with a gun. No. What is no? Did that happen or not?
This is the first time any security agency
look.
You forgot what you did to many others.
Madam Bright said something.
This is why we're here today.
No, right? Madam Bright said something that was very instructive. That when you go onto the international scenes, the rules are very strict and the standards are very high.
We agree.
Once you engage, we can engage in our usual banter. But once you go at the international level, they don't care about the banter you and I engage in. They will make sure you go by the standard. The standard is that you go into somebody's house with a gun. Basically, politicizing the whole issue. When you get there, they don't care NDC did it to you or MPP did it to you.
But that's not what I'm saying.
No, but that's what you are saying.
No, you are claiming that we went there, then suddenly...
Please, let me wrap up my point. Let me wrap up my point. My point is that it is factual. That from beginning, ab initio, you politicized the corruption fight, which already it is clear that you are failing because
the government of Ghana was not after Ken. It was.
I'll let Vicky have the last bite.
I'm not even done with my bite.
Because both of you are taking.
Okay, no problem.
It's not on the day.
You know, corruption by nature involves some kind of politics a lot of the time. Because you are inevitably talking about a public figure who has allegedly embezzled some funds belonging to the state. You're a gatekeeper or a trustee or a custodian of assets belonging to the state, and you are alleged to have touched those assets in one way or the other. So the very essence of it is political. It's when that whole thing goes to a different level or shifts into a different gear, that you then have these kinds of issues. So the whole thing could have been done in a way which would not have triggered this. But as we are all saying, be that as it may, at the point where his location was known, it should have at least been dropped at that point. But I still am saying that at the time that the OSP issued the notice, I don't see anything wrong with that. Because yes, we did know where Ken was because he told us, but there was a point in time where there was a bit of a gray area where we didn't know, you know. And also, he has visas. I mean, he's not stuck in the US.
Yeah.
He has other visas in his passport, and he can apply for other visas. I mean, he was a free man. So I don't think there's anything wrong with
Vicky,
that.
I'll stay with you and let's go to this very worrying matter. And you know what? As a woman, I cringe to even want to have this conversation because there's no way you'd have a conversation without inviting the areas which we are avoiding or the areas which the gender ministry is actually cautioning us on. But I'm certain you followed that conversation on a Russian national coming to Ghana and having some businesses with women in Ghana. I don't know why the two men are laughing. Yeah, that's some businesses.
It's a serious matter.
It's a serious issue. Let's talk about it generally before we even get into the legalities of that comment by the communications minister. How does this, Vicky, what can you say about this, really?
I mean, I don't even know where to start with this because as a woman, I'm totally scandalized by the whole matter. It touches, you know, the dignity of these women In fact, it touches several things: dignity, consent, cross-border enforcement, and how Ghana ultimately handles digital sexual exploitation, which is what this is. I'm happy that both ministries are treating this with the seriousness it deserves. So we need to be clear on this. Non-consensual recording and distribution of intimate images, and it's referred in some jurisdictions as revenge porn, or, you know, image-based sexual abuse. It is a form of sexual abuse, and it's a criminal offense under Ghanaian law. You know, if you consent to intimacy, you know, consent to intimacy is not consent to recording. And consent to recording is not consent to distribution. You know, and one has to be clear about this. So to me, what is at stake here is whether our digital safety framework as Ghanaians can protect Ghanaian women in these kinds of situations, especially where it crosses our borders. And these days, that crossing of the border can even be instantaneous. You know, it can be in real time. So if we are really serious about protecting women, children sometimes, thankfully, in this case, there was no underage woman involved. Okay. It doesn't make the situation any better, but at least there was no child involved. Then I'm watching to see how far the ministries go to extradite this man and to punish him, because it would act as some kind of benchmark as to how we respond to these things, and not just headlines. You know, we are very good at having the headlines and then debating it, you know, on and on and on. Radio, TV, newspapers, etc. We talk about these things, and then somehow the next story comes and it fades into the distance, and then nobody asks the ministry anything else. There are so many things we've sat here and talked about where we've seen letters from whether it's the gender ministry or some other ministry, and then I don't even know the status of those situations now. Now, what this guy has done actually has broken quite a number of laws in this country. You know, not just laws under the Cybersecurity Act, we have the Electronic Transactions Act, and the Constitution. The Constitution, because the Constitution guarantees our right to privacy and dignity as Ghanaians. How difficult is that for a man to give a woman, by the way? How difficult is that for a man to give a woman? So for me, I'm just really, really upset about all of this, because, you know, it's just not. It's just not. Breathe on it and let me. Yeah, it's shocking. I mean, and sorry, and also the fact that I'm just always shocked as to how people think they can come here and just commit crimes and get away with it. Things that they wouldn't do in their own countries. Would he do that to a Russian woman in Russia? Or would he even go to the UK and do that to an English woman? Or the US and do that to an American lady, or Germany or France or anywhere? Why is it that time and time again, some foreign nationals feel, and this applies in the Galamsey field as well, that they can come to this country and not respect our laws, and you know, trample all over the dignity of Ghanaian nationals over and over again, and feel it's okay and just get away with it. It's just another day. I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong. I think I feel nearly the same way Vicky feels. I feel scandalized. I cannot get into the minds of these women that are involved in this alleged business that is out there. But for the first time, I have appetite for revenge. And I'm going to go to the lawyer to see
how that is possible, especially because the Communications Ministry has said that they have started conversations or they started processes to extradite. What will be our legal hurdles? Would we see some punishment at all, or this is just wishful? What will be the hurdle?
Well, as you know, when it comes to the legalities, then a lot of questions have to be asked. I mean, for my preliminary research, for Russia specifically, having their constitution that they don't extradite their citizens. It's in their constitution, so it binds their states, and all actors within Russia obviously will have to comply with that. And apart from my direct research, I've seen that other commentators have also made comments on that. So if he's in Russia, perhaps he cannot be extradited. But that aside, we know that extradition is about anywhere he'll be found.
Okay, so is it that a Russian citizen, or when he is in Russia? So, for example, if he's a Russian citizen but he's in America. Exactly.
The reason I'm saying that, so extradition and the processes can be triggered through other means. Like, for example, the red notice we've been talking about in Ken Ofori-Atta's case. If, for example, we have a red notice issued out for the gentleman, if he travels out of Russia to a country where he could be arrested, he may be arrested and may be extradited so long as we go through the processes, just as we've talked about. So for Russia, that's the challenge. But beyond Russia, he could go to any other country. The same way he came to Ghana, I'm sure he's been going to other countries and doing the same thing. And that is critical, because recently I also read similar story. In fact, it was a BBC report on similar things happening in the UK as well. So basically, it's like a new niche in all the social media things, where there are people who go around essentially wearing glasses that are cameras, and then they record people they interact with, especially women. It's mainly men preying on women, asking them questions, following them around, filming them in awkward positions and so on. So that is even a challenge in the UK now, and I can be sure that it's happening in other jurisdictions as well. And so we all need to be, let's say, on the lookout. As Vicky said, sometimes there's also the impression that perhaps countries like Ghana, things are lax, you can come here and do whatever you want and so on. So obviously there's some aspect of this that revolves around education as well, so that people know, how to conduct themselves and so on. Because when I was watching some of the videos, one of the questions that came to mind was, perhaps, was this gentleman able to get away with so much because he was just a foreigner, or he was a quote-unquote, a white man? Because he seemed to have so much leeway and so much accommodation, that because he was just randomly talking to people. And I see that when you try to do that, a lot of people may push back or may not even engage you, but he was engaged, and so on and so forth.
It's not just our nature as Ghanaians to be quite hospitable to a foreigner.
Exactly, absolutely. And that's why I was saying, I wanted to pick up on Vicky's point that there has to be a balance between being hospitable and also being conscious about some of these things. But obviously it's happening, and maybe all these victims, there's no way they could have known that they were being recorded.
Genuine question. Do you think that, can we count on our Minister for Communications to say that we can get some justice at all? Or the laws can just make it very difficult?
So there are many laws that may be implicated, but at least from what I've heard from the minister, he talked about the Cybersecurity Act, which is true. The Cybersecurity Act has provisions on sextortion, revenge porn, child pornography, all those things. But one of the challenges with that act is that the application is limited to Ghana. I've seen commentary and heard that the gentleman did not upload those things when he was in Ghana. Of course, the conduct was in Ghana, but the offense, as far as the Cybersecurity Act is concerned, is about the distribution. Distributing it, because people are free to choose to have their own content. They can develop their own content and so on. It is the distribution in this particular case, or using it as a weapon to coerce or to intimidate or cause emotional damage and so on. So there may be some challenge with the legalities as well, because we have to delve into whether the offense occurred in Ghana or not and so on, which is one of the key things with cyber-related crime. Okay. It is so pervasive that you have to really drill down to the evidence and all of that, which we have to figure out. Of course, the minister has made a clear, if I should say, statement that he intends to get to the end of it. And that kind of posture is also good, because we don't want to send a message that you can come to Ghana and do whatever you want. But let's also be clear that when it comes to the law, it is not as simple as that, because we have to go into the specific details and whether what did occur, that is the offense, did it occur within Ghana, and whether indeed we can get him from Russia. And I think the minister may have been aware of that challenge, or part of that challenge, when he made the point that he will push for even try in absentia if the gentleman will not come. Perhaps as a symbolic gesture, but obviously if he's in Russia, as I said, my understanding is that we can be extradited.
Yeah, so I want to take a very...
First of all, have you seen some of the videos?
No, I have.
You haven't?
I have. No, I have.
How do you feel about them?
You know, part of all this is, I can't even tell whether the ladies involved were doing it for monetary gains, because we didn't see money exchange and all that. But when the video was uploaded, if you go to where it is, almost about 3 million people have viewed it already.
He has uploaded videos to somewhere.
Yeah, to a site.
Videos of the Follow Me.
No, there's a Telegram, there's a website and all that. Okay. At the time I watched, almost about 3 million people have watched it.
Like,
and you need to pay
mechanisms that can block them.
Okay, well,
so that
we'll
people
get
cannot watch.
And you need to pay about
block here, but for other countries too.
It's the World Wide Web.
It's a worldwide.
You have to pay about $7
for what?
To view. And you're talking about and 3 million people have watched already. So 3 times 7, you're talking
the money
about,
goes to him.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what, so he's even profiting from this. How much did he pay any of these girls?
That is crazy.
But let's go beyond this. There is a fundamental problem we have to solve as Ghanaians, and that is the question of integrity and morals. You see, we are all busy castigating this young man and what he has done is bad and all that. But what steps are we taking as a country to groom young people? Because look, this thing we are seeing, maybe they are worse off. Go to the likes of East Legon, there are some streets. Cantonment, there are some streets. We claim that prostitution is illegal in this country, but it happens in the full glare of our security services. Sometimes we even find police people in some of those environments. Just like maybe the use of cannabis and all that stuff. We have even our own security officials participating in that process. And so we have a fundamental problem. A couple of years ago, I mean, a few times that I've been to the US, you know, you have friends who let's go to parties, let's go. And then you go there and you want to talk to any of, you know, the ladies, and they are not cheap to come by. They are not cheap to come by. They will play with you, they will talk with you, but you dare not cross the boundaries and say, let's go to my room. Without consent, you would have a problem, a big one at that matter. What happens to our Ghanaian ladies? And that's where we need to be getting to. When we were growing up in our secondary school, we used to have counseling and guidance, you know, sections in some of those places. Today, we have even our secondary schools, our own secondary school children, young people, telling adults, telling parents that they are on vacation and they should keep their husbands because they'll come after them. Where are we going? When are we going to put our feet down as a nation to say that, hey, this is where we draw the line, and that parents be responsible for your children, teachers be responsible for you. We've seen even teachers taking advantage of young ones in this country. So for me, the debate is not only about what has happened. This is a one-off. How about the many others? Look, it will shock you. There are Ghanaian, I won't mention any gender, who are actively involved in porn and all that. Are you aware?
How much?
Yes.
You mean women?
I mean, people. You can go to paid porn site, and you see Ghanaians participating in that process. It may be a matter of choice. Yeah, no, really. Yeah,
it's their job.
I mean, they are trading. That's the sex for money, or money for sex, whatever. They are trading. They are paid to do it. We've seen it. I mean, let's not pretend.
Then it has to be poverty.
Yeah, we have a crisis on our hand as a country that we must deal with. And some of this would come from the boarding house system. We've lost the boarding house system. If you go to many of the Roman Catholic schools those days, the girls' schools, they even teach them how to walk, how to hold cutlery and all that. Those are part of the grooming process. We can't leave things to chance and expect that suddenly there will be some reform in our lifestyle, in our upbringing and all that. We need that going forward. And I think we need to.
People can be raised so well, but people are also so cunning and so bad that they will use whatever means.
I am not saying that. I'm not saying that those doesn't exist. I'm saying let's do our part. You see, it's easier if we do our part. We can manage all of that, the excesses you are talking about. But what shocked me was 2 days ago or yesterday. A whole former member of parliament, NPP member of parliament, goes on social media and saying that the NDC imported the Russian to Ghana.
Oh, come on.
To divert the discussion on cocoa.
We have to be serious.
So we were talking about, politicization just a few days ago.
NPP member of parliament.
Yes.
Oh,
Battels, Penelope Sam Battels.
What?
On her social media account, that the NDC imported the Russian lady to do what? To come and do this to divert attention from cocoa. How low did we go?
I mean, it really kind of.
How low? And this is a lady who does. It's okay. You can.
This kind of thing lowers our standard in the eyes of the world.
So this one, red notice, it won't be politicized.
What kind of?
This one, red notice, it will not be politicized.
As you have said, it's okay, Anna.
Yeah, my brother, let's focus on the discussion. Let's not try to bring in other issues. First of all...
Coffee, me too, I didn't see that coming.
I just don't know how... This guy loves so much. You love politics too much. No. You see why the red notice was removed? Because you guys politicize everything.
But that's what I'm saying. That even this what she had just done.
Politicize it.
I did. No, I did.
So when I first saw when I first saw some of the videos,
very original. My goodness.
I found it extremely difficult to watch.
Yeah.
And I found it difficult largely because I just couldn't imagine my sister or a relative in that position. So I felt very bad for the ladies, for their image, for their way forward, for their future. Some of them may be married or getting closer to getting married. What portends for them? How is society going to treat them? That is how I felt. And so, for me, I think aside from the legal aspect, what the Ministry of Gender needs to do is to quickly identify all these ladies and take them through some degree of counseling, so that none of them take the decision to even harm herself. There's that possibility. If you have videos out there and people chastising you and running you down, etc., there's that possibility that someone may...
And the fact that follow me doesn't mean that they went to do anything, right? And they're going to be... There's going to be a lot of assumptions.
Yes. But largely, you see, this is where I was coming to. This is actually a business. There are a lot of people who are into this business of traveling around the world and doing this very thing that we've seen in the video. And then engage in the sexual activities and put it on websites. But the challenge is they don't usually put it on normal day-to-day website. They have what they call deep links. They have underworld websites where they put them. So when you say let's go and block it, it's not that easy. There are special spaces within the deep web where they place these things. So they can be there forever. So, when it comes to the internet, there is that internet that you and I will use every day. And then there is the deep internet that 99% of internet users don't know anything about.
They call it the dark web.
The dark web. Dark web, yes. This is where they place a lot of the content. So it's not something that you can easily just go and remove. So I think we need to go beyond the ordinary. The Ghana government needs to step in and see what, we probably need to find some expert hackers to see if they can do anything to erase it from the deep web, So
this deep web, when you're coming to Ghana and get to immigration and they ask for your details, the immigration is not able to go into this deep world to see that this is the kind of person you are.
No, I don't know if they have that. I don't know if they have that capabilities. I don't know. But at least when I was at the embassy, as head of information, if someone is coming to Ghana to engage in any media-related activity, we give permissions. So we'd have to verify the person, their media house, and all of that. So technically, even what he did, take away the sexual activity aside, even the fact that he was on the streets engaging people, that can be deemed as a media activity, and he needed permission for it. But of course, this is an illicit activity, so therefore he will not go through the right channels to get the permission and all of that. But my point one is, I think the Ministry of Gender quickly needs to identify all the ladies and provide some degree of counseling for them. Of course, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Communication have to come together to see, at least, even if we are not successful, we need to make the attempt that we are doing something about it.
Okay.
We can't just leave it just so because we, you know, the Russian constitution says you can't extradite. No, that's okay. Let's make the effort and let's allow Ghanaians and the world to see that in Ghana, when you commit a crime, we will make the effort to arrest you and to punish you.
Okay.
Let that effort be shown forcefully, you know, and publicly for the world to see. And then I think Wanda also makes a point about education. It's not just women. You know, when you go to some towns or cities in this country, boys are being exploited as well. I don't want to mention any city.
Even sexually, yeah?
Yeah, sexually. That's actually what I'm referring to.
Okay, yeah.
Even in Accra, there are certain places, certain areas that boys are getting exploited. Sometimes through the same means. You know, a foreigner will come, offer something very minimal, and then have their way with the person.
Basically, we are not full as a country. We're not
are not
full.
what?
We have needs.
Of course.
The people in the country have needs so much that when you're offered very little,
That's
you
why I
give it all.
use the
Of
word
course.
poverty.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, poverty is one thing, but I think luxury is another.
Yeah.
When you look at even the boys who engage in fraud, you quickly realize that it was not so much about poverty, but so much about luxury.
Those guys are criminals.
You know, so the point the point I'm making is that
Hardcore criminals.
there is a culture of sometimes people wanting to live a certain lifestyle that may fuel such instances.
Excesses.
But we need to go above and beyond and engage in serious education, how we interact with foreigners. And Wanda is right. I've lived in America for 25 years. Even if someone is your friend, from high school to university, you dare not cross certain lines.
You can't.
Yeah.
Even if you look at someone in a certain way, that's sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just look. Just looking can be deemed as sexual harassment. So perhaps we need to also engage in that education from the secondary school level to especially to our young ladies, etc., on how to engage and how to set boundaries, etc. But largely as a society, let's also pardon our young ladies. You know, I think
the commentaries
when you
on
go on social media,
harsh.
it's a bit too harsh.
They should,
You know,
they should
let's-
stop that.
Yeah, let's try and tone down.
Okay.
from
Yeah,
that.
and those who are sharing, they should stop it
Yeah.
because the psychological harm on these children, you know, we're just praying that nobody does any self-harm.
In fact, if I may add to what Kofi said, it's good that the ministry, the gender ministry's statement included some contact information, because I didn't even know that they have actually a toll-free number that is supportive
I saw
of
that.
counseling. We need more of that, because there are lots of people going through these kinds of challenges than what is out there. And also the sexual harassment bit, especially in the workplace, you'll be surprised.
That was my
Like,
next point.
we take things very casually. People make comments about people, their body, like, you know, in a way that is very basically degrading and so on and so forth. But we take it out as though anything. And if you are, especially if you're a lady and you resist it, then it becomes you are some way.
You're targeted.
But those are the kind of things that,
Persecuting
you know, we need to talk more and more about sexual harassment as well.
We have just 4 minutes, and I'm just going to distribute it fairly.
Cocoa
1
ama.
minute each. Upe cocoa. I know the chocolate one. Well, but let's talk about another thing that will boost the economy, hopefully. So the Narcotics Control Commission is set to operationalize Ghana's license regime for medicinal and industrial cannabis cultivation. What's wrong with the recreational one, though? Who wants to go? It's 4 minutes, so you can elect to want to go.
So
first.
I was listening to the Deputy Narcotics CEO or executive director. And I think it has to do with the potency of our weed. Apparently, our weed is very, very potent.
Very strong, yes.
So the one that they are talking about, the one that we are going to use for medicinal, is actually not going to be Ghana's weed. We are importing it, a different type.
Is it that our soil we can plant that one?
Only plant and
No,
take
I
out
think you have to bring
the
a certain,
THC.
a different type here.
no, you
This
take
one,
it out.
yes.
It's the breed.
The one for
That's
the,
what they do.
The one for the medicinal is quite low in potency.
Yeah,
That's a
they
0.3
take it
THC.
out.
Exactly.
Ours is much, much
Like
higher.
35, 45.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
Look, for the recreation.
Yeah.
No, you're sticking to facts.
It's about 30.
Oh, no, I listened
Yes,
to
how?
lawyer.
As though you
Oh, no, I don't, but I listened to
Okay.
and he was explaining. So, look, 0.35, not even 1. 2 hours, that is 35 to 45.
So Vicky says that can't we plant that one and remove the...
Oh, so that's what I'm saying. They are
Isn't
bringing
that what
that
they
one.
do? They normally extract the thing that makes
Yeah,
you
to be
high.
minimal.
No, so they are different breeds, just like you have
Just like
for animals. You have
No,
different
but
breeds.
I'm trying to stop the import bit
Importation
because
of
it's
it.
more foreign currency, it's a whole cycle.
Everything.
But
Yeah,
the,
so-
the bigger,
Exactly.
you see, the bigger picture
So
is
we are now
licensing them is fine, but the bigger picture is we need to control where they are cultivated. Because if you allow me to cultivate the low, concentration one, I can plant in between the same thing.
But he said
and it will be taking advantage of what I
They are
want.
even going to issue license and then ID cards for the workers on the
No,
farm.
I'm coming. So what I want is that's a lot of work. Designate an area in this country where that is grown.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you are not going to get a license.
Zone.
That way it's easier to monitor and to do all the things you want to do. But to give me license when I'm going to do it in my village in Aflau, I know what to do. So we need to look at all this very clearly.
Do you anticipate challenges with the implementation of this law that was passed in
Yeah, it's possible.
Absolutely. Because, you see, in fact,
Yeah.
that should let us know that there are challenges because even though it was passed quite a while ago, you see that it's taking almost 6
Yeah,
years
to
process.
operationalize.
Because they've been trying to figure out the best way, coming up with the LI, all of that. And now they say they are ready. But even that, and one of the things that struck me quite when it was passed in 2020, within like a month, they had so many applications. I don't know if you recall.
Yes, they had
and they had to
back
be sure
off.
they were like,
Yes.
nobody should come and all that.
I
because
remember, yes.
it's just like one guy saying, even though they are saying medicine, I think people are getting a different impression. They are thinking about how to do it. So, and they say that they are going to focus on the security, the protocols.
And a lot
they
of
really have to.
foreigners are
So
interested.
perhaps the designation of some areas
Yeah.
might be.
Because,
Okay.
Yeah,
I
otherwise-
remember the first time it was done, I got contacted by people, international companies that do it outside who wanted to understand the process, before the thing had even
I
been.
even had guys who came in that I took to the police.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I like to think the other countries that have gone fully legalizing both the recreational and the commercial ones are making some good money, and they're not.
They're making
Absolutely.
money, but it's about implementation. And sadly, we are not the best at implementation, especially monitoring regulatory things. So we need to, for this one, if it's going to hit our streets, we need to up our game.
Absolutely.
So the 0.38 was that one. Can you still use it for other means without?
I don't know when you say this. I don't
They are responsible
In
journalists.
fact, let me
use it
just
for
say a
drug
very
production,
quick funny story to end this. A friend of mine, she has the jitters when she's flying. She was in New York and she decided to just buy some, she went into a store and she said, oh, I just want something, I'm a bit nervous. And the guy said, oh, take these gummies. And she said, okay. So she sat on the flight, put a whole load in her mouth. It was kind of, she was like, whoa.
That means she took too much.
When the plane was going, she said it was it's like surreal, a whole out-of-body experience.
Wouldn't they write the potency on it?
No, she
It would be.
No.
And for the gummies, they would have said
She
how
just,
many
she just
may
thought she
have
was
taken
eating.
more.
Yeah, so the dosage
Put some
is very
gummies in
key.
and the guy said, oh, it will relax you. She said, okay. And she, all right. So, woo,
Oh my God.
Yeah, the dosage will be
Well,
very critical. Drug abuse is still a very big issue in our part of the world.
Oh, it's huge.
So even if we implement that, we still have to
It's
go to
scary.
the other end
Yeah.
of not it being over the counter drug and all that. Because these are what they use for pain, management in the hospitals.
Okay.
Those infusions you take and all that. So
yeah, there's a lot of industrial.
Yes, so we need to keep an eye on it. Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's been a calm one this morning.
And lady.
Yes.
And lady. And lady. In fact, lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for starting the week on a rather calm note. Lomduku Ahlija is lawyer, lecturer, and an energy consultant. Vicky Bright, of course, corporate lawyer and an entrepreneur. Wanda Madilu is a development analyst and member of the NDC communications team. Kofi Tonto is political aide to Dr. Bawumia. Kofi, congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank
Yesterday
you.
was a Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me bring you your tip for today on pensions on your screen this morning. Did you know that as a worker, if you are concurrently employed by more than one employer, each employer is responsible for only his or her obligation under the Tier 3 pension scheme? This means that each employer contributes 13% of basic salary, whilst the worker adds 5.5% and 11% to SNIT, 2.5% to NHIS, and 5% to a licensed corporate trustee. SNIT will credit all Tier 1 contributions from the different employers to one social security number. However, the Tier 2 contributions will be paid to the respective schemes of each employer. This is how you ensure retirement income, and NPRA is here to support you, ensuring retirement income security. So every week, I'll be giving you a tip on how to secure your future. Well, so we had a great conversation with the former Minister in charge of Parliamentary Affairs and former Member of Parliament for Swami, Oseche Mensah Bonsu, and the Hunter Police sat with him. We're bringing you that conversation now. Please stay.